What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. First and foremost, y'all know the drill. Before we get started, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video out, share all the content out. As welcome to week one. Football is back. It is officially time. It is that time of year again for NFL picks, weekly NFL picks. Um, And this year, man, going to be another great year doing these picks. Have had a great time doing it these past 2 years. Look forward to keeping the momentum going this year with the picks. As far as this week goes, there's some really intriguing matchups, some division matchups here in week one. Um, some exciting potential playoff previews that we could even be looking at here in the first week of the NFL season. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get into it. And let's start it all off with the game that is going to kick it all off on Thursday night. The Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions, raising their banner, having their ceremony in front of their fans, and then welcoming the Dallas Cowboys into town. New head coach of Brian Schottenheimer, no more Micah Parsons, Dak Prescott returning from an injury. It's kind of a new look in Dallas, a new feel for the Cowboys this year. The Eagles, they're at home, so I definitely think that gives them the edge. I believe that the line has really moved in favor of the Eagles. I believe they are favored by like 8 now. But I'm going to say this about especially the kickoff game. We commonly do not see blowouts in the first game of the season. The kickoff game. More times than not, that game tends to be close. And you factor in with the Cowboys and Eagles, it feels like anything is on the table. I think that it's going to be a close game. I think Philadelphia does come out on top. I think that they will get the win, but I think it's a close game all throughout. And I think that Dallas is going to play them tough here. I don't think they're ever really going to be out of the game, but I think in the end you're going to see the Eagles come out on top. Next up, we have for the second consecutive year a Friday night game in Brazil. And this year it's against the Chiefs and the Chargers. Divisional matchup here in week one. The Chiefs, the back to back to back defending AFC champions, the team that has ran the AFC West for the past decade. We all know about the Chiefs, the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh, in his second year as head coach, got them to the playoffs last year. The Chargers are looking to take that next step up. And if they're going to take that next step up, this is going to have to be a game that they win. Now, I definitely get the vibe that this is going to be another close game, going to be another, highly fought game until the end. But it's just that game that you get the feeling that in the end something is going to go the way of the Chiefs and Kansas City is going to pick up a very narrow win here in this one. I definitely think that if the Chargers can establish their running game early, that could give them an edge, but it always seems like the Chiefs in these types of games, they find their way to victory, and you just cannot bet against Mahomes and rate that much. So, got to give the Chiefs a win here. Moving over to the 1 o'clock slate on Sunday. First game, the Dolphins and the Colts. And for both these teams, I think it's interesting. Miami, they're really looking to bounce back after obviously a up and down year last year. Really, I think Mike McDaniel, he's obviously fighting for his job, same as Shane Steichen is for Indianapolis. And the Colts, it's a big dilemma at quarterback. Daniel Jones is going to be the starter, but really, how much longer until we probably see Anthony Richardson again once he does get healthy? And that's why I think everyone says the Colts quarterback room is a mess. It's definitely not an ideal situation. But once again, I think you get these games week one, and I'm not particularly high on what the Dolphins could be this year. I think, with these games week one, you really don't know what to expect and you don't know what the Colts are going to look like. So I actually think that this is going to be one of those weird week one games that you don't expect to go a certain way, but I think the Colts are actually going to pick up the win here. I think it's going to be a close game throughout, but I think that the Colts, especially if they can get Jonathan Taylor going in that running attack, then we are definitely going to see Indianapolis have an edge. Factor in that they are at home. I'm going to give this one to the Colts here. Next game, very, very interesting game as far as the quarterback matchup goes and the two faces. The Aaron Rodgers era begins in Pittsburgh against the team that he spent the previous two seasons on in the New York Jets. The Jets also have a face that is familiar to Pittsburgh and Justin Fields, who was the Steelers quarterback last season, was on the roster, played good football before getting benched for Russell Wilson. New Jets head coach Aaron Glenn, his first game. So definitely some interesting dynamics here in this one. And I think that the Jets could definitely keep this a competitive game, especially considering it's week one and that Rodgers did not sign with Pittsburgh really until kind of late in the offseason. He was with them for training camp and everything, but, also considering that he really didn't sign, I think, until June. So that may not a big factor, but could definitely be a factor just in terms of really that April to May period is the initial installment period, and it's going to be interesting to see how Aaron Rodgers and Arthur Smith gel together in these first few weeks. But I'm still going to give Pittsburgh the win. They're the better team. I think it's probably going to come down to defense, and in the end, I think you trust the Steelers' defense more. But I think it could be a very competitive ball game. I think it's going to be a game that the Jets are really going to make a statement that they're not going to be a pushover team, and if you want to beat them, you're going to have to fight throughout. So I definitely think it's an opportunity for the Jets to come out early and make a statement, win or loss, based on the way that they play. But I got to go with Pittsburgh here. Next game, the Panthers and the Jaguars. Another interesting matchup between two number one overall picks. Carolina, it really feels like they are headed in the right direction, but really, how close are they to being where they want to be and potentially contending for the playoffs in the NFC South? As far as Jacksonville goes, new head coach in Liam Cohen, feels like a big year for Trevor Lawrence. And it's an interesting matchup. It was a tough matchup to pick, but I'm actually going to go with the Panthers here. I think that based off the fact that Bryce and Canales, they have some familiarity. They obviously, we saw Carolina last season, especially at the end of last season, build a lot of momentum and play a lot of tough games against some really good teams and even pull out some wins at the end of the year. I think we're going to see the Panthers come out, and I think we're going to see them take advantage of Jacksonville really still trying to get familiar and Trevor Lawrence trying to get familiar with Liam Cohen. Do they exactly know how they want to use Travis Hunter yet? I think that's another question mark. I could definitely see this being a game where Carolina, they kind of play how they played some of those games last year, that they play tough and close. Maybe they get their running game going, and if they can do that, I think the Panthers stand a good chance to come out with the victory. Next game, the Arizona Cardinals at the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints are going to be starting Spencer Rattler in this one. Arizona, it kind of feels like this is a make it or break it year for that coaching staff and Kyler Murray. I'm not going to spend too much more time on this. I think the Cardinals, I think the dynamic of it being week one and the fact that it always feels like week one, anything could happen. You could see anything happen week one just because at the end of the day, teams don't have tape on one another yet, and you're really going based off what happened last season. And of course, every team prepares differently heading into the season. So I think if you're looking for any case of an upset, here that could be it. But the Cardinals, I still think, are so much better than the Saints. The Saints do not. They probably have the worst quarterback room in the league, one of the worst. And I think Arizona, as long as they keep their foot on the gas pedal, I think they're going to go in here and steamroll New Orleans. Next game, NFC East matchup between the Giants and the Washington Commanders. Jane Daniels, the sensational rookie of the year, coming into his second year, and there's definitely attention on can Washington take that next step forward. As far as the Giants go, Russell Wilson, going to be the starting quarterback, comes over from Pittsburgh this offseason. They drafted Jackson Dart in the first round of the draft. It feels like for Brian Dable, this is a really big year for him. And if the Giants are going to stand any chance, they're going to have to make a statement in a game like this. And once again, it's week one. It could be a good opportunity to come out and pull off an upset. But I think Washington is going to come out and get the win here. I think you're going to see Jay and Daniels, continue that momentum from last season. I think you're going to see him make plays, and Washington being at home, I also think that's an advantage. So I have to go with the Commanders to win. Next game, big matchup in the NFC South that could potentially have major stakes looking back on it late in the season between the Bucs and the Falcons. And Tampa is coming into this matchup really beaten up. Tristan Wirfs is going to be out. Chris Godwin's going to be out. Cade Otton may potentially be out. New offensive coordinator for Tampa for the Falcons. We saw Michael Penix at the end of last season. And, they're dealing with some injuries of their own. Caleb McGarry is out for the year. Darnell Mooney is considered day-to-day. He could have a chance to play on Sunday. But, I got to give this to the Falcons here. And obviously I'll be talking about it later in the week. But I just feel like Tampa is going to have issues being able to really establish a rhythm and continue it throughout the game. And that is going to be what allows the Falcons to take advantage and come out with the victory, starting 1-0 and winning a very pivotal matchup in the NFC South. Next game, another divisional matchup. There is a lot of division matchups here in the first week of this season. The Cincinnati Bengals and the Browns, and I just called New Orleans quarterback room one of the worst in the NFL. This is right there with them. I think just based off the fact that you really don't know what you have out of just Shador Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, and there's really only so much that Joe Flacco can do at 40 years old. He had an amazing run, I think, a couple years ago with Cleveland, but Cincinnati and the Bengals have gotten off to slow starts. I do think we have to recognize that, but at the same time, I don't think there's really much of an excuse to lose to this Browns team with how much of a mess they are. So I'm going to go with the Bengals to win. I think if they really want to be where they think they could get back to this year, they're going to have to win this game. Next game, the Raiders and the Patriots. Both teams with a new head coach. New England, Mike Vrabel coming over. The Raiders hiring Pete Carroll, trading for Geno Smith. And I said this in my schedule prediction video. The Raiders are going to be a very interesting team this year. I think they could have the potential to be one of those entertaining teams. Even if they are in a tough division, it's not going to translate into as many wins as I think they would hope. And this is just another one of those weird spots. Week one, anything can happen. It feels like New England should almost have an edge because they are at home. It feels like they are the better team. They are positioned to potentially be in playoff contention this season if all goes right. But I'm actually going to pick the Raiders here. It's one of those weird games that you feel like is going to just go Vegas's way late. So I actually think the Raiders are going to pick up in a pretty low scoring game, but I think the Raiders pick up the win here. Heading into the late window, another division matchup. And it is the debut for Sam Darnold in Seattle as the Seahawks welcome in the 49ers. And once again, very big matchup, I think, for both of these teams. San Francisco, after making the Super Bowl 2 years ago, had a very disappointing down year last year. Seattle won 10 games but still missed out on the playoffs. So, really important, I think, for both these teams if we're also going to, potentially talk about playoff races and, potentially contending. Another big matchup here. And it's one that I think could go either way. I think you can make the case for San Francisco, especially if they are wanting to return to the form they were in a couple years ago. But I'm actually going to pick Seattle here. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think in the end Seattle is going to be in a position to win this game, and I think they're going to come through in front of the home crowd, and I think they start 1-0. Next game, Cam Ward's NFL debut. The Titans heading into Denver, heading into Mile High to take on the Broncos. And honestly, this is a pretty tough environment to make your debut in. So I think you consider that Tennessee, they still really don't have a lot of talent. And Denver, we saw them make the playoffs last season. They're looking to build on that momentum. I'm going to go with the Broncos here. I think that we're going to see Cam Ward, he's getting his welcome to the NFL moment right away here. So I think that Denver's going to come out and pick up a win. Next game, another division matchup, and this is a pretty big one in the NFC North. The Detroit Lions, the team that has dominated that division the past few seasons, going into Lambeau Field to face the Green Bay Packers, who just made the big trade for Micah Parsons. And it's actually a question mark as to whether Parsons is going to play in this game or not. There's reports that he may have to get an epidural to play. So that I definitely think is concerning for Green Bay's part. You definitely want the guy that you just gave up 2 first-round picks and a pretty good nose tackle for out there, a guy who's supposed to be that difference maker on your defense. But I feel like for Detroit, it's going to be interesting to see what they look like early with 2 new coordinators and how Dan Campbell, manages that, and how really this offense looks in particular. How aggressive is Detroit going to be? I think it's going to be a close one, but considering it is in Lambeau, I'm going to give this to the Packers. I think they come out. I think they inch out a win in a close one, but I think they're going to start off 1-0 here. Next game is the Texans and the Rams. Another interesting quarterback matchup. Matthew Stafford sounds like he's going to be good to go. CJ Stroud, they did make the playoffs last season, even after some saying Stroud did have a bit of a down year. So we're definitely going to see if he shows any improvement this year. But as far as this matchup goes in particular, I really feel like that you got to go with the Rams here. I could see this being a high-scoring offensive game, but in the end, the Rams, they're really, I think, trying to go far this season, and you obviously want to start the season off right with a win. I think that's what they're going to do here. Next game, Sunday Night Football, and I'm going to call my shot about this game. And I know maybe some of y'all saw the video I put out, the schedule predictions video, saw who I have winning the Super Bowl, but I'm going to call my shot. The winner of Super Bowl 60 is playing in this game on Sunday night. I don't know if it's going to, it could be the Bills, it could be the Ravens. I really honestly think it's pretty close to 50-50 as far as who it's going to be. But the winner of this year's Super Bowl is playing in this game. And it has potential to be Game of the Year here in Week 1. I know that's tough to say, but it is true. So As far as looking at the matchup, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, the 2024 League MVP, the 2023 League MVP, both of these teams played a very evenly matched game in the divisional round last year where, essentially Buffalo squeaked away with one because Baltimore, had a lot of mistakes in it. So there's really a case, I think, for either team to win. But I think just solely based off of it being week one, that crowd is going to be rocking in Buffalo for prime time. It's going to be very hard, I think, for the Ravens to. I think they're going to keep it very close. I think it could be high scoring, but in the end, I think just the factor of home field advantage is important in these types of games, and it's going to wield the Bills to victory. Final game of the week, Monday night, Ben Johnson's coaching debut in Chicago. One of the most anticipated things since it happened, since Ben Johnson was hired by the Bears. J.J. McCarthy, his debut as the Vikings take on the Bears in Soldier Field. It's going to be an interesting game. It feels like these two teams, they're pretty evenly matched and it could go either way, but I'm going to give this to the Bears here. I think that in the end, there's still some uncertainty about J.J. McCarthy. We really don't know just how good he is yet. We haven't even seen flashes of him. There's absolutely a scenario he could come out and light Chicago up. But I definitely think there's going to be an emphasis to try to win Ben Johnson his first game in prime time. I think that's what the Bears are going to be set up to do. So give me the Bears. And with that being said, that is week one. 1 week down, 17 to go. Appreciate everyone for watching it all. As always, remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share it out. I will see you all in the next one, and take care.